3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. It's Storytime Live, episode 116. That's more episodes than Marvel can continue a single run of comics, despite the fact that they pretend that they've been in business for 80 years. Oh, my goodness. I hope you guys are having a good night. I'm having a pretty good night, despite some bad news. You ever have bad news that turns out to be good news, but it's not really good news? It's just the good news is that the bad news is not as bad as you thought it was. It's like, oh, you go to the hospital. Oh my God, you're going to have to get your leg amputated. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? No, just kidding. We're not actually going to have to amputate your leg, but we are going to have to amputate your toes. You're like, like, I kind of had one of those things. Tonight, Storytime with Live by Ash on Comics is brought to you by Stella Artois. Because if you're going to drink imported beer, if you're going to drink cheap beer, drink imported beer from Belgium. And with your pinky extended. Stella's really good. Stella is really good for an inexpensive beer. Mass market beers can be mostly miss. Melissa is here. Speaking of mass market beers, I don't know why I said that. She has nothing to do with that. But I like to have really bad segues. I think they're funny. Melissa is here first. Congratulations, Melissa. Apparently Eric Breen decided not to show up anymore, I guess. Marani is second. She's noticing that I upped my production standards with thumbnails. You notice that? I never really intended Storytime Live to be a thing. It was just me kind of keeping my channel active because I wasn't doing videos and stuff. So I didn't really try hard. Thumbnails, they can be fun to do, but they're kind of a pain in the butt, especially when you're short on time. Guess what? I was short on time tonight. So you guys got to wait around. Was it worth waiting around 5-10 minutes so that I could do this thumbnail? I don't know. You be the judge. It is nice afterwards when you go through my library and stuff, to see the bunch of crappy, you have real thumbnails. And you can easily identify the book from the picture. So that's kind of fun. Hopefully it's all worth it. Let's see. Snatchface is not buying Marania. Just noticing. She says she noticed a long time ago, but she's only mentioning it now. Snatchface doesn't buy it. Apparently Marania did not want to stand by. She's being rebellious, which I can respect. I like rebellion. Let's see. Ronnie says if I were her boss, she would be asking for a raise. Well, I guess it's a good thing I'm not your boss. Win-win for both of us, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. Snatchface likes the intro music. That's pretty cool. It's done by a gentleman named Phantomenk. I put the credits down. It's in the comment, or down below. You can find it's unofficially used. I bought the music though off Bandcamp, but I recommend if you like it too, you can buy. It's Phantomenk, and there you go. That's all you need to know. Lord is in the house. He says hi to Marani and Melissa, but not to me. I tell you guys all the time, I'm not the star of the show. There's you guys. Snatchface says, I'm sure that Stella Artois appreciates the endorsement immediately following the toe amputation comment. That's funny. That was really funny. Yeah, so anyways, the bad news to good news. So, as many of you guys know, I live in California, which is, I call it California. It's more fascist than communist. I don't know why we talk about calling people communists all the time. really, there's not many communists in Western civilization, because communists, they live in track, like they live in, not track, they live, they live in like essentially like they're crammed into like little boxes, all these apartments. Everyone's just works for the state, with menial hard labor jobs for barely any money. The state controls everything, and no one has anything, no, except for the people in power, which is why the people who advocate for communism, always beware of those people, because those are the people who think that they're gonna be the one in charge. When they tell you that, oh yeah, your white privilege and all that, no, when they advocate for this, you're the one going to be standing in the bread line. They're the one going to be driving the nice cars, living in the mansion. When everyone's equal, of course, except some are more equal than others. And if you get that reference, then bravo to you. If you want to ever truly understand communism, and don't read Marx. Marx was a liar. Read Animal Farm. And George Orwell is a genius. He breaks it down into non-political terminology. He just writes a really good story, and you'll walk away and go, yeah, I completely understand communism now. But that's not what we have here in good old US of A. Even though it's fun to poke at, we actually have fascism. Fascism is also a hard leftist ideology, like communism. The difference is, in communism, where the state controls everything and everyone starves to death because the state can't do anything right. You'll notice this. Next time you think the state should be in charge of something, go to the DMV. Yeah, do you want the people at the DMV in charge of your healthcare? No, you don't. Everyone wants free healthcare until you realize it's DMV healthcare. Oops. The state can't even run a DMV. They can't do anything. They're utter incompetent buffoons and failures. They should be running the least amount as possible. Now, the fascists kind of understood this. The fascists were like the communists, but they said, you know what? Let's let the actual businessmen that know what they're doing, that make success, let's let them continue to do that instead of us taking over. We'll just make them answer to us. That seems smarter, and in a way it is, right? So fascism is a marriage of the corporatism and the state together. Now, they're both socialist, far left socialist ideologies, and the reason they're socialist ideologies, anyone tries to tell you it's not, either is ignorant or is trying to deceive you. The reason they're both far left, the reason they're both socialist is because what socialism is when the state controls the means of income. When state controls that, then it's socialism. And in both fascism and communism and non-fascist communist socialisms, all of those, the state controls and regulates who can make money, how much money you're allowed to make, all that stuff. That's what this country is becoming very much, right? Right now, you're not allowed to go to work. You're not allowed to have a business, go to your job, unless now you have permission from the state. Now, it's all under the guise of coronavirus. We got to do it for the safety of the kids, people, safety. But no. When was the last time state took power and then gave it back? I don't know. So anyways, my long-winded weed story, no pun intended, there's a lot of weed out here, is California is more of a fascism. This whole country is going towards fascism. And in fascisms, if you go back and look at the history of Germany, you can see one of the side effects is big corporations, the ones that align themselves with the state first, the ones that help the fascists take over, they're the ones that make all the money. That's the key. That's how fascists take over. They basically say, hey, we're going to be in charge. Which big corporations want to support us? We're going to give you all the advantages so you guys become rich, and we'll eliminate all your competition for you. And first come, first serve. And boom, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple, Microsoft, all these guys. Boom, boom, boom. We're here. Us, pick us. And so that's why we have Amazon. Everyone, they're still doing business, even though some states are locked down. You can't go to work. Mom and pop stores are all going under. Everywhere you turn, left and right. Costco's still open. Walmart's still open. These guys. That's what's going to happen. They squeeze out all the non-party affiliates, and it's a big transfer of wealth upper towards the elite. And the rest of us are sold a bill of goods that it's all for our benefit. We all need to be equal. We all need to help each other, and can't be, and it just, what they do is they get everyone to fight each other. What the Germans did is they got everyone to hate the Jews. What America's doing is they're getting everyone to hate the whites. Specifically the straight whites. More specifically the straight white conservatives. More specifically the straight white conservative males. You pick that enemy, you get everyone else to align against them, be like, that's the bad guy. Then everyone aligns, and they will put you in power to solve the problem of the enemy. Anyways, I don't want to get too dark or anything. I guess Ash rant on politics. Yeah. I hope you guys are having a good night. Oh, I didn't even get to my bad news. Anyways, California. So here's the thing about California. Emissions. You have emissions for your car, right? Smog check. Most states have this. I think every state now in the union has some sort of smog check emissions thing. When I lived in Colorado, it was pretty lax. It was, you get it checked. Okay. I mean, it was kind of hard to fail. And, your car's blowing tons of fumes out or whatever. I had a Ford Explorer when I lived in Colorado. It was a 2000 Ford Explorer. I bought it in 2005 used, but it was like immaculate condition. It was like one of the best car buys I ever bought. I bought it in 2005. It only had one previous owner, and I had it for 10 years. About 5 years into the life of my car, the check engine light came on, which was like, that's weird. So I went to the dealership, check it out. Oh, it's yeah, this and that. They fixed it. Okay, cool, whatever. Then it came back on. Took it back. What's going on? Check engine light. Oh, yeah. And then eventually, long story short, they could never figure it out. And eventually they just told us, look, you're just going to have the check engine light on forever. I was like, the car drove just fine. And I had it looked at by the dealership multiple times. Everything was great. That car had it for 5 more years. Well, what happened to it, Ash? Well, what happened to it was, unfortunately, it ran low on oil at one point. And because the check engine light was on, when the car tried to warn me that, hey, you've got low oil, throw the check engine light on, get it checked. Normally, you'd, get it checked. Oh, you got low oil. So I'd been used to it for 5 years, seeing that check engine light, that I just ignored it. So all of a sudden, my car started making some weird noises. Found out, it's bone dry. Now it's weird. I don't know why. I don't know if I had a leak. It's possible. It's harsh weather in Colorado. Could have had a rock come up and hit something. I don't know. Anyways, long story short, had some problems with the car. Eventually, I was like, I got to get rid of it. The car is going to fail one day. So that's why I got the Mini Cooper that I have today. I love that car. Now, long story, get to the point, Ash. Check engine light came on about a year ago. And I knew I had a problem with the turbo on it. Yada, yada, yada. The car still drives fine, everything, da-da-da. It's like, got to get it fixed. And I'm being quoted all these different prices. Like, it's going to be like, $1,500, $2,000 to get this. And I'm like, well, the car's driving fine. I don't have money. Now, fast forward to COVID. Now, I'm like, last thing I might be doing is spending I'll get it done later. So, got to get my car registered now yearly, Go to get it smogged. Go to the place that I went to last time that passed me. Like the guys, they were pretty cool. Go to get it smogged, and they're like, oh, check engine light's on. I'm like, yeah, so what? Like, because I'm used to, like, dude, my Explorer had check engine light for 5 years. It was fine, no big deal. like, we can't pass you with a check engine light. I'm like, what do you mean you can't pass me the check engine light? I'm like, it's something to do with the turbos. Like, it's fine. They're like, no, California law. If there's a check engine light, it's automatic fail. No matter what. I was like, even like if the check engine light is on because there's like a short in the electrical system for a headlight, or I don't know. Like, yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what it has. It doesn't matter if it has to do with emissions or not. And they're like, yeah, it's basically because they're, and it's funny too, because my car's the cutoff. It's from 2010 up, cars fallen into this category, and mine's a 2010. If I had a 2009, I would. So they're like, yeah, it's a 2010. There's a law, and we can't. They're like, basically what they're trying to do is get you to buy a new car. Like, they want to make it so expensive that you can't afford to drive these cars, so you have to replace it, and eventually you're going to buy an electric car. And I was like, that's how this happens, because they're stupid ideas. They can't succeed on their own, so they have to force you into them. That's why Texas went without power for all this time, because guess what? They had to put all these fucking windmills in there that weren't rated for these crazy snowstorms, and they froze up. And windmills don't work when they're frozen, or wind turbines, whatever. They also don't work when there's no wind. So, but it's neither here nor there. They probably passed some sort of law that forced Texas to invest in this, because it probably made some voters feel good, like, oh, I'm doing something for the environment. Yeah, vote, yay. And then now people are going hungry. Anyways, I don't want to get started on wind turbines and the stupidity of those, but suffice it to say, so I'm like, okay, well, I need to get it fixed. And they're like, yeah, there was like 3 error codes that it was throwing, and they were like throwing big, like it'd be like $2,000. Like, they're like, you might have to replace your turbo. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, don't worry, we know a guy, but it's not going to be cheap to, I was like, I could be looking at thousands of dollars just for the privilege of driving on California roads. Now, if I was back in Colorado, it'd be like, here's $50 in and out the door, you're done. Ding, have a nice day. No. So, yeah. Anyways, I got a little bit of a shifty feeling on this whole deal, because the guy, they smog me before. They're nice guys. I think they're nice guys, but he offered to buy my car. And that was like, red flag. Red flag. Like, I was like, I don't know. I need to get someone else to look at my car. So I went to my mechanic. Now, he doesn't do smog, but I got some advice from him. I ended up, in long story, had to go through all these other mechanics, because no one wants to fucking work on Mini Coopers, specifically the S model, which is the turbo. So I finally found this one mechanic through Yelp. Hooray, Yelp. See, Yelp still has a purpose. Lots of great reviews, all this stuff. Mechanic is like little mom and pop shop, hidden away. I had trouble finding it. Little Asian guy, old Asian guys, little and old, but nice, super nice guy. Every review on Yelp was like 5 stars. People were ecstatic with him. His shop fucking looks scary. It was like, it was just, oh, wow, you want to take your car here? But I was just trusting in. I was like, man, if there was, Yelp is, the thing about Yelp is you can't trust the negative reviews, because it's full of hate culture will go on there. If you looked at someone cross-eyed, they'll go on Yelp and start a campaign to like brigade you and trash your business. But the positive reviews you usually can trust. No one's going in there being like, yeah, I'm going to hype this guy up, like whatever. So talked to the guy. He was going to he wanted to, do the diagnostic. He was going to charge me less than half the diagnostic of the previous guys, the guy that wanted to buy my car. And I was like, dude, you don't tell someone it's going to be super expensive to fix your car. Oh, by the way, I'll buy it. Right? Like, wait a minute. What are you trying to sell me? Like, what? So, long story short, I was expecting, like, fuck, it's going to be like $2,000 to fix my car. Could be more, depending on, because there's multiple error codes. So I take it to the guy. And long story short, you're like, find the ash. Jesus, get to the fucking point. Long story short, it cost me $1,000, which still made me grab my balls and cough. I wasn't ready to pay $1,000 right now. This, like many of you out there, COVID has kicked my ass. California is not cheap on anything. All the cost of living is going way up. But in my brain, I was like, please, I can squeeze out 2,000. I can squeeze out 2,000. Don't let it be more, please. I'm going to start putting on credit cards. But it was $1,000, and it passed. And so I'm like, oh, my car's passed. I don't have to do anything more to pass it. Yay! Now it's still $1,000 to drive on California freeways, or any road actually. But it's yay. So that's my good news, bad news story. And you know, if you're like, yeah, fucking I'm falling asleep, Ash, you're boring me to tears. Well, that's the whole point of Storytime Live. It's to bore you to sleep. Is it? No, it's not to bore you to sleep. It's to lull you to sleep. Ed's in the house. Yo, good to see you, Ed. Let's see. Snatch Face says, is this social studies or comic book reading? Well, this is Ash on Comics, Snatch Face the Fool. I sense that you are a noob around these parts, else you would be understanding of how an Ash on Comics live stream goes. This is a chit chat. It says in the comments below. You can actually look down on YouTube. There's like little comments, and I like put a description of the show, and it says this is the time where I talk about whatever's on my mind. I talk about what you guys are talking about in the chat, and then we read some comics. That's how it works. If you're new to the show, every episode's different. I don't always go off about my car story or politics even. Just what happens to me on my mind. You guys bring things up that make me think of things. And then there we go. Superman and Lois show is horrible, and I'm glad I skipped it. Wait, how do you know it's horrible if you skipped it, Melissa? Ronnie says, Silver Surfer was more of an intellectual comic book back in the day with deep themes, so this college-style lecture fits perfectly, STF. I was wondering what STF stood for, and now I realize it's Snatch Dance. When you said before you were like, STF hush, I was like, is she saying shut the fuck up? Like, to me, I was like, now I got the connection. I'm slow, but I eventually get there. Dominic's here. Good evening. What did I miss? Dominic, you missed the most boring car story ever. I talked about my woes, my auto woes, and living in... You know what? See, I tell you these stories about California so that you guys can have a better appreciation of where you live and go, fuck, at least I'm not living in hell on earth like Ash. Now, I jest a little bit. I am in San Diego. It's not quite hell on earth. San Diego is like the nicest part. But geez, San Francisco, good fucking luck. Let's see. Snatch Day says, cool story, bro. No, it is a cool story. I'll tell you what, as boring as that story was, it was less boring than a Marvel comic. Cha-ching! Oh, yeah. High five myself. Just a slight political lecture and a story, Dominic. Good to see you. Melissa says, I don't watch the CW. Well, then. I'm watching The Flash. Well, I took a hiatus of The Flash to watch WandaVision. I'm getting to see WandaVision. I'm always behind because my buddy that I live with, he doesn't like to watch shows like live anymore. He likes to wait till they're all out and then just binge it. I'm like, and I'm like, I can watch them by myself or I can watch it with him, and I enjoy watching with but then I have to wait, and it sucks because then everyone goes on fucking social media and spoils it, and then when I say like, why is the dude, don't spoil the shit, and they're like, F you, you should watch it if you don't want to be spoiled. Like, I'm just like, we just live in a shitty world. No one has any consideration for each other anymore. Let's see. Indie Comic Jones is in the house. Good to see you. Now he says, oh, okay, I'm off to bed. That was quick. And Melissa says she lives in the southern states. So tonight, I hooked up my second monitor. I've been talking about this forever. I got this. It's really helping in the stream. You guys probably don't notice any difference, but I'm so happy. Like, I'm like, just got this other monitor sitting around. I'm like, well, part of the reason is I didn't have the monitor hooked up for the longest time because I've been planning since the turn of the year to get a TV. I haven't had a TV in a long time, and I was like, I'm gonna get a nice big screen TV, and I'm gonna get one that 4K TV so they can use as a monitor. So yeah, play some sick games. And then the registration car thing hit, and I was like, fuck, it's gonna be. I was like, well, there goes the TV. It sucks. All the budget for that out the window. So I was like, let's dig out the monitor again, and now I can actually have this stream up, and I can see the comic book separate. I don't have to go I can see things. So hopefully the stream will run better. Wanda should be made a mutant again, and Magneto's daughter, and Quicksilver should be a mutant, and Magneto's son again. Maybe. And the MCU is a different world for me. I don't care. I care what they do in the MCU, but those type of details don't bother me, right? It's like they just, the MCU is different. It's just the way that it is. It's so I don't care that Wanda and Quicksilver aren't Magneto's kids in the MCU. And I agree in the comic books. I think that was dumb what they did. Roll my eyes. There's way, way worse things than Wanda and Quicksilver, however. Did you guys hear about what DC's doing? If you haven't, I tweeted about it. I shared Perch's video, my boy Perch, and Joe Corallo, who's visited us before. Dude, funny AF. They did a video on DC Comics, and they had me rolling, especially Joe. Like, Joe, I don't know if you're out there listening. He already sounds like Adam Carolla, which is a favorite comedian of mine. But holy shit, Perch was playing off of him and explaining what DC's has coming up around the corner, what their plan is. And Joe was playing the guy, doing, getting the news and giving his response. It's hilarious. You cannot believe the stupidity. Just when you think it is impossible, you're like, you just can't make a dumber decision than you did. Whatever it is, whatever you think about comics, Jonathan Hickman messing up the X-Men, or go back to when Marvel did Marvel Now and replaced all of our favorite heroes with their woke counterparts, or what currently DC's doing, which is copying Marvel Now but calling it DC Future State and replacing all of our favorite heroes with the woke counterparts, and all whatever dumb things you think that have happened in comics, and you just go, oh god, that was stupid. New 52, whatever. None of it. That all looks like genius decision making compared to what DC is doing now. Snatchface recognizing, apparently he's watching. Joe's timing on the what? Amazing. Had me crying. Yeah, exactly. It was like the timing, just the linear verse. I'm not going to go into it here. Maybe do a special stream talking about it. Well, I got to get some more information on my own so I can talk with some knowledge. But if you want to know more, search out his video, Linear Verse Perch, or Comics with Perch is the channel. And I linked it. I tweeted about it. You should see. It's seriously, DC has decided to connect every comic that they've ever made for the past 80 years. And you go, oh yeah, that Superman that was in Action Comics #1 back in what was the 30s, the 40s? I forget exactly what year that book came out. Yeah, that Superman is the Superman now. Not like sliding time scale, how Marvel does their sliding time scale. And they just keep updating things every 10 years and just be like, oh yeah, actually Punisher wasn't in Vietnam. He was in Desert Storm. Okay, whatever. That's fine. We just suspension of disbelief and go, that's just things that have to happen because comic book characters really don't age. No, DC's decided to say, no, characters just don't age. So like the people in DC Comics are hundreds of years old. Now, not just Superman and Wonder Woman. Batman is. Batman was around in the 30s. That Batman was around in the 30s. He's that Batman today. He's still the same Batman. They just age very slowly. I shit you not. It sounds stupid on the surface, me just telling you this much, but you watch that video and the things that will come out and they just point out all the problems that you won't think of immediately, but you'll be like, oh yeah, like what? It just boggles the mind how stupid it is. Yeah. Everyone on the planet Earth, which is already bigger than normal Earth, they don't have a life expectancy of 65, 75 years like regular humans. They all live hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years because time moves slowly in the DC universe. That's the linear verse. That's why you can read 80 years of Batman comics and he's only aged about 10. I shit you not. It's it's a good laugh. And Joe, like I said, it's so good that Perch put Joe on, because Perch could have done the video by himself and explained it, but having Joe just react and ask questions was hilarious. Anyways, I wanted to point that out. Ronnie says, I listened to that video and I'm still stunned at the flat out insanity of what they're trying to do to reconcile all the different storylines. It boggles the mind. It boggles the mind how stupid. Like, seriously, the fry guy at McDonald's, if he was running DC company, would have been like, no, this is dumb. Like, who the fuck did you hire, AT&T, to run DC Comics? That you were like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Stupid. Man. Speaking of stupid. Do you guys play video games? I play video games. I've been playing this video game called Valheim. I need friends. It's a computer game. I'm not going to go into too much detail as a comic book channel. I'm just saying it because maybe some of you do play computer games. I don't know. This is a fantastic game. And it's related to comics because you play a Viking warrior rescued by a Valkyrie and sent to Valheim to fight for Odin against powerful monsters. And it is super fun. It's a survival game. It's a big open world survival game. Huge world. Gigantic. And you have to survive in it. And you can play with up to 10 people. And you can take your characters into their world. Their characters can come to your world. And you have to beat giant, like these bosses that Odin wants you to beat. I haven't even beat the first boss yet. There's 5 currently in the game. There's supposed to be 9 total. I haven't even beat the first one. I've been playing I played like 100 hours in the game. But you just lose yourself and you get to like build like massive Viking halls. You get to explore this world, fight monsters. If you like buildings, I love building stuff. I just love designing my own awesome mead hall. Get to play together, explore dungeons. I found a dungeon. I found my first dungeon. I was afraid to go into it though because I'm like, I'm by myself. I'm gonna get killed. Anyways, it's only a $20 game. It's $19.99. And it's already one of my favorite games I've played in a long time. And I'm playing by myself. Anyways, just wanted to bring that up to your attention. If you are a computer gamer, if you are on Steam, Ash1138 is my handle. It's the numbers 113 and an 8. You can add me. Pretty much when I'm got free time. That's what I'm doing. I'm reading so little comics now. $20, so much more entertainment than a comic book. I don't know what the industry is doing. Dominic says he was stunned too when he was watching the video. Time moving slowly reminds me of the episode of Sliders when the crew landed on parallel Earth where the phenomenon occurred. Here's the problem: if you live hundreds and hundreds of years, like let's say 8 times longer, because currently that's what that is, right? They've aged like 10 years over 80. So let's say 8 times 70, so 500 plus years you live, 560 years, 600 years old, up to 1,000 years old. But I don't know. I guess maybe 800 years old. Whatever. If you live that long, if everyone lived that long, just how crowded the planet would it be? Yeah, Snatch, check it out. It's a cool game. And I posted about it on my Discord channel too. I'm looking for other people to play with. Dominic, if you have PC, the requirements are not steep. So, I mean, if you don't need like a crazy cutting edge PC. The graphics are kind of low, although they make up for it with like really nice, really great lighting effects and stuff. But you don't care. It's like Minecraft. It's not as bad as Minecraft, but it's like Minecraft in the way that the game supersedes. It does look beautiful, to be honest, but in a different way. Like it's very low res textures, but it needs it because this world is gigantic. You can go. It's huge. I'm not talking about the game anymore. Comics. Marvel's having Inhuman sale. Best of Image sale still going on. There's really nothing. I always look at the sales and I was disappointed. There's nothing. We gotta wait till White Guilt month is over, and then they'll be able to sell books without the guilt, I guess. This is what we're reading tonight. Oh yeah, get ready. Get ready. Computer Robots is here, right on time. Read the Fantastic Four and Humans book that is on sale in Comixology, please. Why would I want to read that? Why? And hi, everyone. Ash, have you ever watched the movie Straight Outta Compton? I have not. Silver Surfer. Before it was called Parable, it was just called Silver Surfer. I believe this came out in the late 80s. And I was not a Moebius fan at the time. I was like, oh, yeah, Moebius. And I was a Stan Lee fan, but not in a, I love Stan Lee's writing. I was more of a fan of like, I love that Stan Lee made the Marvel Universe. But I was like, I don't want to read any of his books. I didn't think he was a great writer. But this book came out. Apparently Stan was a big fan of Moebius. He had a story idea, pitched it to Moebius, and Moebius was like, oh, I'd love to do it. And they did it. They did it through the Epic imprint at Marvel. Which rest in peace. Epic was such a great imprint. They did so many great comics, and this is one of the book. This is the book that probably made me love Silver Surfer. I liked Silver Surfer before, but it was more that I liked the idea of Silver Surfer. I just thought he looked cool and had a cool name, and I grew up in Southern California. It's like, yo, dude, surfing, yeah, like whatever. But I'd never read a good Silver Surfer book until this. And then I was like, oh, so good. Jimmy's here, so I can say, so good. Jimmy says, I'm pretty sure I'm close to being done with comics. I haven't read a comic in like 1 to 2 months. Wow, that's sad, especially there's a new Hellboy series and you're not getting it. Let's see. But that's that's actually kind of the way of things. I think the average collector, like the average time that someone stays in comics is about, I think, 2 years is what I heard, somewhere around there. And I was like, wow, that's a really short number, but a lot of people they get burned out. They like read the stuff, and Jimmy needs to read more good books. Apparently something must have just let out, because now we got RDVs here. Jimmy showing up. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna get into Silver Surfer. It's a 2-issue miniseries. I hope you enjoy it. It's been a long time since I read it, so it could have some rust. We'll find out together. Eric hasn't shown up tonight. I know. What's going on? Eric doesn't love me anymore. I'm sad. Here we go. Look, a shooting star. No, dear. It's too close. Probably a satellite falling back to Earth. I am asleep when it first appears. I sleep too much these days. For some, sleep is a resting from the day's endeavors. For me, it's an escape from reality. But from this reality, I shall find no escape. Do you see it? Of course. I've been tracking it for hours. Good. So do you know what it is? No. Only what it isn't. It isn't a meteor. Then it must be some space station. Some space station hardware falling from orbit. Impossible. The trajectory is all wrong. Look at this. It's a spaceship. But the size of it. It must have been built for a race of giants. Incredible. And it's heading straight for Earth. Within seconds, the news is out. A gigantic alien spacecraft is about to land among us. At first, the report is greeted with disbelief, but it soon turns to shock, fear, and mounting terror. And still, I sleep. Senses numbed by horror films and science fiction tales, mankind expects the worst. Overnight, the thin veneer of civilization is stripped away to be replaced by brutal, mindless anarchy. The sound of riots and mayhem disturb my slumber. Slowly, I awake. I look around. The city is a shambles. I feel no surprise. I have seen too much of man's insanity. I have little compassion for them. All their wounds are self-inflicted. The stench and squalor no longer touch me. In my mind, I can always escape. Memories of the past are now my shelter. For the body may wither, but love is eternal. Move it, creep. Hey, scuzzbag, we're talking to ya. What's this thing he's got wrapped up? Looks like we caught us a looter. Must be something he stole. Okay, punk, on your feet. We're taking you in. Too heavy for an ironing board. I'll open it up and see what it is. Hey! Huh? It's mine. I don't want to hurt them, but if I must. My arm! His grip was like... Resisting arrest, huh? Okay, mister, you just bought it. From high above, a mighty roar, a blinding light. I am forgotten. All is forgotten. Human flesh is stunned into immobility. I vanish into the night. The great ship descends. Earth will never be the same again. Look at that shot. Jimmy says, I'm really enjoying myself rereading the Song of Ice and Fire series. Very nice. It's a good series of books. I'm going to pick it up again. I'm going to at least wait until the next book comes out. I don't want to get to the point where I've read the 5 books and I have to wait forever for 2 more. So I'm holding off. But I definitely want to reread those again. Hello, Computer Robot, says Melissa. RDV's going to bed? What's going on, RDV? Oh, Eric's not here, so. Good night. You're going to miss a good book. But that's all right. RDV misses all sorts of great books. Back to the story. Incredulous and uncomprehending, the crew of Traffic Helicopter is closest to the hovering behemoth, which seems to blot out the sky above. Whoa, what is it? I don't know, but we ain't staying around to find out. Never before have human eyes beheld such a sight. The only thought in every mind is to run, flee, seek shelter, anything to escape the numbing, nightmarish apparition which slowly descends lower, lower, lower. The sound is deafening. We're doomed, doomed. It's bigger than a mountain. Something is coming out. I am Galactus. The moment is mine. The power is mine. The majesty is mine. Too long have you wallowed in war, endured poverty, been beset by crime. In return for your homage, I bring you a new era. In every battle zone throughout the world, fighting has ceased. There have been no new acts of terrorism. No one dares incur the displeasure of Galactus. Oh, I was reading wrong. Let's rewind. That's the newscast. Take 2. In every battle zone throughout the world, fighting has ceased. There have been no new acts of terrorism, and no one dares incur the displeasure of Galactus, for no one knows the extent of his power. Almost overnight, a new religion has sprung up around the awesome being, making him an object of worship. This is the chance I've been waiting for. I can't let those other charlatans get the jump on me. Galactus can make me the greatest evangelist of all. He frightens me, Colton. He seems so cold, so merciless. He displays not a single shred of emotion. You know nothing of such things, Alina. My TV ministry once reached millions around the globe. But the public is fickle. I've been losing converts. Galactus will change all of that. How, Colton? Why do you speak in riddles? You are my brother and I love you, but I have never understood you. Wait till my next telecast. I walk among them, but always apart. I have given them up for lost a long time ago. It's Colton Candle on TV. Galactus has come in answer to my prayer. It is I who summoned him. Praise the Lord. Some dare to question Their bodies are battered, their voices stilled. Why should we blindly believe? What if he's... Kill the lousy anti-god! Ugh! Galactus will save us! We are his children. He will lead us to nirvana. I say unto you, he is the way and the wonder. Heed you his prophet, I sing his true glory. I am come to set you free, free from guilt, free from worthlessness, from worthless man-made laws. If you would be saved, do what you will, take what you will. There is no wrong. There is no sin. Pleasure is all. So speak Galactus. And so the madness begins. Freed of all inhibitions by the pronouncement of the God figure, I see sanity giving place to savagery. Looting, pillaging, and plunder are the order of the day. It is the age of Galactus. Voices of reason are shouted down by the deafening roar of violence until martial law brings an uneasy halt to the carnage. A fearsome quiet falls over the ravaged land. It is good you have come. The president has called an emergency meeting. The president? He counts for nothing since the coming of all-powerful Galactus. But, Reverend Candle, we must find a way to restore order again. We will do so when Galactus decrees, not before. But humanity has wanted his coming since the dawn of time. He is the power. It is not for man to question his word or his will. He is law absolute, and I am his prophet. You lie. False prophet, you bring shame to your calling. Who is that ranting derelict? How did he get in here? The building has been totally secured. No matter. Guard, silence the heretic. No, Colton, there's been enough killing. He's only one man, one voice. He cannot harm you. Suit yourself, Elena. He is beneath my notice. I have a new world to create. You are merciful. I thought that quality had vanished on Earth. Who are you? Why do you oppose my brother? Your brother is driven by a lust for power. In the name of religion, he will subvert mankind. How can you be sure of this? How can you not? Does he not espouse the teaching of Galactus, thus making a mockery of all that man has achieved? But Galactus is a god. Surely we must obey. Obey? Obey when children destroy their schools. Obey precepts that turn brother against brother, that imprison the poor and the helpless. I have had those same thoughts, but I felt guilty because I lacked faith. Faith without judgment merely degrades the spirit divine. I sought to forsake the human race, to leave this pathetic world to its own devices. But perhaps I am maddest of all, for I cannot turn away. What insane conceit possesses you? You think you can defy Galactus? You think you can make a difference? Yes. For in truth, any man can make a difference. It is not given to us to know whether we shall succeed or not. In failure, there is no disgrace, but there can be but one ultimate shame, the cowardice of not having tried. What are you? I am called the Silver Surfer. Let's see. Jimmy says, once I'm done with this series, I'm going to read the Stormlight articles. You mean the Stormlight archives? That's going to be a long time, Jimmy, because you got currently 5 books in Game of Thrones. There's going to be 7 total. They could come out. Well, probably not come out before you're finished, and those books are like 800 to 1,000 pages a piece. And then the Stormlight archives are 1,000 to 1,200 a piece. I'm in the middle. Not in the middle. I've just started the 4th book. I think I'm like a quarter of the way through the 4th book. It's a cool series. The first book is the best. I really like it. It's great. Let's see. Ronnie says, wait, Galactus has gone from wanting to eat Earth to ruling it? The hell? No, Maranya. Not all is not as it seems. But I will say one thing about this book that I forgot to mention beforehand as a little bit of a disclaimer. This is not a continuity book, obviously. That's part of the reason why it was done on the Epic line and not the main Marvel line. So this is a story of Galactus and Silver Surfer, but it's kind of told as if there was no other Marvel universe. It's almost like if this was our world and Galactus showed up and then the Silver Surfer was there all along, we didn't know, think of it that way. It's like an alternate telling Silver Surfer storyline. Galactus, he's not wanting to rule the world. You'll see. Like there's more to be told. Let's see. Galactus worshipped as a god is weird. It's not so weird, actually. I think if you think about it, Melissa, if we lived in our real world, if tomorrow Galactus descended from the sky and landed like he did, many, 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 many people in the world would be worshiping him like a god. Let's see. Wait, the space in front of guilt in the panel. That was the word white. Wait, that was the word white, as in white guilt. Galactus is going to free the world of white guilt. Let's see. Galactus is a false god, and he's a world-destroying monster. I don't know if he's a false god. I mean, obviously he's not God Almighty, but I think Galactus could be considered as much of a god as Thor. Like, so it's just one of those things, the Marvel Universe. But as far as a world-destroying monster, I think from our perspective he is. But from Galactus's perspective, we're just ants. So when you step on an ant, are you a world-destroying monster yourself? It's one of those weird things, that you have, that play off that perspective. That's one of the things I've always liked about Galactus. Is he's not evil. He doesn't like kill worlds because he's like, ha ha. He feeds, right? Just like the lion eats the gazelle. Galactus has to feed. He feeds on planets. Most of the time, when Silver Surfer was helping him, he was eating uninhabited worlds, but he doesn't necessarily care if they are. Let's see. Well, once I'm done with Game of Thrones, and I'll need Way of Kings and see which one I like best and finish that series. Well, they're very different series. Game of Thrones is way darker. Game of Thrones is one of the things I like. I like grim fantasy, and Game of Thrones feels very realistic. It's very like Dark Ages, medieval style. Brandon Sanderson's fantasies are more lighthearted, fair. So it feels like Star Wars, kind of that level. I mean, it's got bad guys, but it's Star Wars isn't dark, right? It's like there's moments where like, ooh, the Emperor's evil guy, but even the darkest times, you're like, oh, it still feels light. That's how Sanderson writes. Let's see. Moebius art is stellar. Yeah, Moebius is one of the all-time greats. Fresh News 247. Hello, welcome. He says, can you read Silver Surfer Black? I haven't read it, and it ties into King of Black. Well, I won't be reading that tonight. It's a possibility I'll be reading it into the future. I can't promise, I don't like to do things back to back, so I'm doing Silver Surfer now, so it'll probably be a while before I come back to Silver Surfer. I do have it on Comixology. I did purchase it for that reason, to eventually read it, but it's probably not going to be soon. So if it is something you're wanting to tie into King of Black, I'd recommend going and reading it. I think it's on Comixology Unlimited. It's worth it. As a matter of fact, though, if you want to just get into if you're getting into Donny Cates right now, let me give you a quick reading list to make sure you've covered all the bases. Start with Thanos Wins. That's the anchor that all of Donny Cates' stories point back to. From Thanos Wins, do Cosmic Ghost Rider. Cosmic Ghost Rider, go to Venom 1 through 12. From Venom 1 through 12, then do Guardians of the Galaxy. Silver Surfer Black picks up after Guardians of the Galaxy 6. And then you can go back and read 7 through 12 of the Guardians of the Galaxy run if you want. Silver Surfer Black. And then you read Thor. And then go and read Absolute Carnage. And then you'll be into the current Venom and King in Black. So there you go. Let's see. Melissa says, Galactus in the MCU world would be hard to beat. Sure would. He'd be a good villain, especially if they did it right. All right, let's get back into the story. This is one of my favorite Silver Surfers. This is one of my favorite Marvel stories ever. Stan Lee. I don't know. If you've ever read a Stan Lee book better than this, let me know. Because this is my current top Stan Lee book. Oh, what do you know? I ended it right on the end of the first issue. So we are now on issue 2. This is fantastic. When I was young, I heard of you, but I thought you were just a legend. Who can know where reality ends and legend begins? Do we not see with our hearts and our minds as well as our eyes? You are not of earth. There is such a purity about you. Purity dwells in the soul, not the birthplace. Your soul is rich in warmth and kindness, Alina. It is for such as you that the Silver Surfer again shall soar. Don't go. Galactus is too powerful. Men worship him. No one will help you. You'll be alone. You'll be destroyed. If we turn from battle because there is little hope of victory, where then would valor be? Let it ever be the goal that stirs us, not the odds. Galactus and I have fought before. Perhaps it is our destiny to engage in a conflict without end. His is the greatest power by far, but he fights for himself alone. I seek to save a world that is turned against me. Galactus, I am here. I knew you would come. Why have you broken your solemn pledge? You vowed never to attack planet Earth. No pledge has been broken, no attack made. I have come in peace. But the damage you have done. Look, up above! Something flying near the all-powerful one. A white figure on a flying board. I've seen pictures of him. It's the Silver Surfer. Never before has mighty Galactus stooped to such deceit. Never before has the great hunger so consumed me. And so you play God? Having pledged not to slay Earth by force, you will do so by guile. I cannot allow it. You cannot prevent it. There was a part in this, the Comixology. This is an older book. It was never digitized properly. Where this cell here, I guess. Well, maybe I did read all the balloons. All right, never mind. Continuing. Incredible. He and that board seem to be one. As you were once my herald, I wish you no harm. Take flight while you can. Galactus, I know you are beyond good or evil, but you swore never to harm planet Earth. I have harmed no one. I never pledged to stop them from harming themselves. If only they could hear him, but his words were for me alone. My only recourse is to reason with them, to make them understand. Galactus is mighty, his power awesome, but only the coward or sycophant worships power and might. What has divinity to do with the show of strength or abandonment of reason? Where is the holiness and brutality and greed? Flawed as man may be, he has never aspired to nobility. Despite war and crime, poverty and pestilence, the human spirit still burns bright. You must not let Galactus quench that flame. He's trying to turn us against Galactus. Kill the dirty, rotten anti-god. I speak the truth. Get lost, sicko. Go back where you came from. Somebody shut up that lying white-skinned freak. Just wait, Baldy. Galactus will crush you like a flea. Why wait? Let's lean on him ourselves. You must listen while there is still time. How does a fink like that get on TV? I don't know, but I'd like to get my hands on him. Somebody's got to stop this lousy, godless mouth. This ain't murder. It's like squashing a dirty, rotten roach. So once again, they respond with mindless violence. That's it, man. Let's waste the sucker. The force field of my power cosmic will protect me. But how to protect them from their own insanity? Will there never be an end to their insane fanaticism? Why do they turn to violence in the name of the one they worship? Have they so soon forgotten the greatest power is love? They think me defenseless because I do not strike back. But I dare not unleash my power cosmic against them. They are not evil, merely unthinking. And truly, they know not what they do. Enough! Let the firing cease. Galactus needs no mortal weaponry to strike in his behalf. My former herald has challenged me for the final time. I feel no anger. Not for me is the tyranny of base emotion, but the great hunger gnaws, and I must feed. Thus, without rancor or wrath, I say to you, if you must die that I may live, then die you shall. Galactus must survive. He cannot match my speed, but he cares little for the havoc he wreaks while striking out at me. The destruction beggars description. Even those who fought for Galactus can find no safety as they flee in terror. But some there are who cannot flee, and there are some with the speed and the power cosmic. But just minutes ago I tried to kill you. You struck in the name of your God. See now what such blind devotion has wrought? You can't go back there. You've no chance against Galactus. There is always a chance while life endures. Colton? Halt! You must come no further. The revered prophet of Galactus is in meditation. He seeks silent spiritual guidance, a oneness with the Master. Who has dared disturb the ritual? Who has shattered the sacred karma? Let the interloper step forward. I'm sorry, Colton. I had to speak to you. You are my sister. Therefore, in the name of Galactus, I forgive you. But have a care, Alina. Do not seek to take advantage of our relationship. I've come to caution you, Colton, to sound a warning. Perhaps there is a folly to following Galactus so blindly. Perhaps he is not... Be silent, Alina. You of all people must not utter the words of heresy. Heresy? Is it heresy to think, to question? Why did the Supreme Being give us minds if not to use them? Are we just sheep to blindly follow a mad dictates of a stranger? As the Silver Surfer said, enough! But the Surfer is wise. You must open your mind. Listen to reason. I'll hear no more. Your words give offense to my ears and my heart. My own sister has been devil-tainted. No! Remove her from my sight. I dare not weaken or let others lose faith. Truth is but an abstraction. Power is all. Only those who believe blindly can be controlled like puppets. Only those who close their God-given minds can be enslaved by such as I. Galactus is a stepping stone in my quest for power. What does his divinity or lack of it matter? The Silver Surfer must be silenced, lest he wake the masses. Believe ye in Galactus, for his is the power. The power shall be mine. Never before has a battle been so televised, so witnessed by the entire world. Hear me, my once and former herald. Yield, and you live. Oppose me, and die. Death comes to all. I fear it not. And never before has my cause been so just, albeit misunderstood. What madness possesses you to fight for those who revile and reject you? If it be mad to stand for the weak and the misguided, then such is my choice, rather than cold and soulless sanity. Each time I evade his blast, another building crumbles. Only by fleeing can I gain time to devise a way to conquer the unconquerable. I hurl a final cry of defiance, and I am gone. The Silver Surfer has fled. The world wonders, has he escaped the awesome vengeance of the deity from space? Ooh, yeah, it's taxing on the voice. Let's see. Pennywise is a planet eater too. He calls himself the Eater of Worlds. All right. What year is this one? I don't know what year this is. I think this came out in like late 80s. It's really not meant to be a specific time, I don't think. If you notice that some of the art designs and things, like Moebius is a sci-fi artist. He tends to draw the fantastic. So it's just set in a time. It's just left to your imagination, I suppose. Back to the story. There can be no hiding place from Galactus. I have but to will it, and my star-spanning cosmos craft will find the star-born fugitive. For I am power, and power is all. Sing ye the praises of Lord Galactus. He is the word, and the will, and the way. Glory be to him who walketh amongst us. For he hath broken the bondage of man-made law. Yea, Galactus hath set us free. My soaring board obeys me no longer. I am caught in the beam of Galactus' ship. Our camera crews have sighted the Silver Surfer heading this way. Galactus was right. None can escape him. Emma, shut him up. You must be quiet, dear. They'll all accuse us of heresy. I don't care what anyone says. I hate Galactus. Please don't let him hurt the Surfer. The Prophet Candel has decreed excommunication for anyone who questions the word of Galactus. How can you follow my brother so blindly? Can't you see the harm in that? Don't say it. Hearing such blasphemy could cost me my life. But if everyone's too frightened to think, to question, what will happen to us? Miss Colton, where's your brother? The revered prophet may not be disturbed. Don't give me that bull, mister. I'm here on official business. That Galactus of yours has caused millions of dollars of damage to my city, to say nothing of the countless lives his carnage has cost. If your phony prophet has a pipeline to that overgrown freak, I want to see him, and I mean now. How dare you malign the mighty star god and his chosen prophet? You think a petty politician like yourself has power? I'll show you what power is. In the name of Galactus, death to the anti-gods! You're insane. Is this what you call religion? What sort of religion preaches hatred and violence? You're madder than he is with reason You're madder than he is to reason with a fanatic. Look, our helicopter. The prophet's sister has taken their ship. We'll pay with our lives if she gets away. Shoot her down. Oh. You hit her. He struck a vital spot. I'm losing too much blood. But I must reach Galactus. Must stop the horror. Cannot die in vain. The power beam still draws me back. I cannot resist it. Never have I meant you harm, yet you have ever defied me. Pledge to challenge me no longer, and I'll grant you your life. A pledge for a pledge, Galactus. Leave planet Earth. Vow to never return. Else I fight till I die. He's toppling those skyscrapers like toys. It's the surfer he's after. But the Skyrider's too fast for him. His speed can't save him for long. Galactus is too powerful. Then die you shall. I could forgive your challenge, but not your insolence. You dare speak of insolence? You who would shatter a world? Consequences are for lesser beings. I am Galactus. That is sanction enough. You who are beyond artifice, beyond deceit, why do you let them think you a god? Is God not power? Is God not might? Never have I seen a deity. How then shall I know I am not divine? Surely, true divinity is love and grace, and knowledge supreme. Yet with all your power, you know not the why nor the wherefore of life. Enough! I weary of such platitudes. It is time to end this bleak charade. But hold, what flying vessel dares approach? Galactus! I've reached him at last. The pain, it won't stop. Everything growing dark. But I can't close my eyes. Can't fail now. Revered prophet, I bring news of your sister. Not now. Not during my hour of sacred meditation. But your benevolence, it is most urgent. What can be more urgent than my holy attempt to establish divine telepathic communication with our Lord Galactus? I beg forgiveness, revered one. I did not know. As prophet of the Lord, I must learn to bear such burdens. Speak your peace. Your sister, she has escaped. Perhaps it is just as well. Do not pursue her. She cannot do us harm. But she has taken an aircraft. She heads for Galactus. Is she blind to the danger? They await you in the command room. She was heard to mutter something about stopping the battle and saving the Silver Surfer. Again the Surfer. Is he always to plague me? We have a visual radarscopic fix on the fugitive craft, revered prophet. Why does the ship wobble so erratically? I hesitated to tell you, benevolence. Alina was wounded. At that instant, even as I hurtled towards the fateful scene. Who dares, unknown and unbidden, to approach my presence? Everything's going dark. I'm not afraid of death, but her ship's out of control. She's gonna crash. I mustn't die in vain. As you have taught us, prophet, it is the will of Galactus. No! He can't let her die. He can't. Hear me, Galactus. Hear the cry of your prophet. Save her. Only you have the power. A ship. It plummets towards the earth. Galactus does nothing, revered one. But look. The surfer has spied her. Inside, a girl, Alina. My cosmic blast will free her from the doomed craft. But before I can unleash my power to save the girl... No! Silver Surfer is blasted. I'll be defied no longer. When insurgency threatens, let power prevail. For Galactus is power, and power is all. I could have saved her, but Galactus stopped me. For a split second, I saw Alina's face, illuminated as if in prayer. A prayer not for herself, but for mankind. Her eyes seemed to say that I was Earth's last hope. They begged me not to fail. Galactus didn't even try to save her. He just let her die. Unfathomable are the ways of divinity, revered prophet. Did Alina not sin in defying the will of Galactus? Sin? My sister was as free of sin as the very air we breathe. It is Galactus who sinned, and I who sinned. I who dared deify a devil. Throughout the world, viewers have witnessed televised evidence of the space god's brutality and destructiveness. People everywhere are starting to question, to wonder. Bulletin, we have just learned that the prophet Candle has publicly renounced Galactus. Police have just found the bullet-ridden bodies of Mayor Folger and his aide. It is believed they were killed by followers of Galactus. How could anyone do such a thing? Those fanatics think they can justify anything in the name of religion. If Galactus is a god, then I'm turning atheist. He's so vengeful, so deadly. We'll never get out from under his yoke. We're all to blame. We brought it on ourselves. Religion is one thing. Murder is another. This is still a nation of law and justice. What can we do, Mr. President? Galactus is too powerful to be apprehended. It would be folly to even think of attacking him. It would be cowardice not to try. Summon the Joint Chiefs, now. What are we scrambling for? We're gonna waste us a god. You got some sick sense of humor. Though the task seems hopeless, the mission impossible, not a man flinches, not a man wavers. Ofttimes I suspect that the spark of divinity, which all humans seek, glows ever unnoticed in their own naked breasts. But it is not divinity I seek this fateful moment in time. It is justice. And though the quarry is mighty, Galactus himself, there are scales to be balanced, a price to be paid. You could have saved her, yet you lifted not a finger. The female is not concern of mine. Too long have you lived among the irrational humans. You begin to think as they do. Though there are countless deaths each day, they mindlessly treat each other as it matters. This lettering is pretty tough. Rewind. Though there are countless deaths each day, they mindlessly treat each as if it matters in the cosmic scheme of things. What gives you cause to say it does not? If life is the most precious gift of all, then is not its loss a matter of monumental consequence? Your blind disregard for other lives fills my heart with burning rage. Why was such awesome power granted to one as merciless as you? By what mad folly, for what dread purpose was created a Galactus? Have not predators existed since time's first dawning? Did not the same hand fashion the hawk as well as the dove? But enough. I weary of discourse. Words are empty. Action is all. The tableau is ended. The prize is mine. You have chosen your fate, my herald. That was. I meant you no harm, for Galactus bears malice to none. I know not why you choose to defy me, or why you risk death so that others may live. But if such is your choice, so be it. The surfer shall soar no more. His voice is quiet, devoid of emotion, cold as an earthly tomb. I resign myself to my fate. And then I hear them, the sounds of jet engines, gunfire, missiles, screaming through the night. I tremble for them. Galactus can decimate the mightiest force on Earth with little more than a shrug. But he does nothing. Silent he stands, made invulnerable by a power beyond the ken of mortal comprehension. When finally he speaks, his words are for me alone, his great voice little more than pale whisper. They deify me no longer. You have turned them against their God. I plan to free them of their inhibitions, to remove all moral restraints. It was but a matter of time before they destroyed themselves. But they worship me no more. Thus, the plan has failed. I grant you your freedom, Skyrider. Your death will avail me not. Wait. Remember your promise. You have vowed not to harm them, to take no reprisals. Galactus needs none to remind him of a pledge once given. I go, for the hunger still gnaws. But time is endless, and the future is mine. I shall yet return and taste the triumph, for man's racial memory is so woefully short. Galactus is gone. Throughout the planet, everything seems to pause, as if the world is breathing a silent global sigh of relief. And then I am summoned to a plenipotentiary session of the United Nations. As Secretary General, I speak on behalf of the sovereign states of this great world body. We are here to redress a monumental wrong. We were visited by two beings from outer space. One we mistakenly treated as a god. The other, our everlasting shame, we scorned and vilified. But we have seen the light. It is he who calls himself the Silver Surfer, who is the true savior from the stars. No, you are wrong. You must place no man above another. The spirit of divinity is in all, or else in none. How humbly he speaks. He is the essence of true holiness. If not a god, he is surely a saint. You must lead us, guide us. We shall be your disciples. It is madness. They thirst for leadership as a child thirsts for mother's milk. Surely this is why they so often fall prey to tyrants and despots. Why cannot they realize that the truest faith is faith in oneself? What has made them so desperate to have others show them the way? There is only one way to teach them, though it will mean becoming an outcast once again. And yet, it is a small enough price to pay. Very well. I accept the homage that you offer. I shall advise you and guide you, and yea, even lead you to the path of glory. But first you shall hear my terms. My every command is to be obeyed without question, my every whim gratified, my every desire fulfilled. 1/3 of each nation's wealth shall be set aside for my personal use. I shall not be subject to any man-made law. All shall rise when I deign to appear. None may speak without my assent. He's changed. He rants like a madman. He's power mad, no different than anyone else. He makes Galactus seem like Mother Teresa. You've said enough, I think. I think you better leave. Get him out before they riot. He's a lunatic. Get rid of him. Send the creep back where he came from. Lynch him. String up the white-skinned zombie. Hanging's too good for him. Toss him down to us. We'll take care of him. No, don't listen to him. He doesn't mean what he says. Don't you see? He is doing this for us. For our own good, to show us. Dirty, lousy alien. Candel's cry will be lost in the din. No mob has ever heeded a lone voice of reason. But I had best leave before violence sets in. To me, my board. Don't do it, Surfer. Stay with us. We need you more than ever. Mankind is mad. You're our last hope. It's too late. He's gone. Why? Why did you do it? You could have had it all. You could have been a god. A god. You threw it all away just for us. And the tragedy of it is, we don't deserve it. I ride my board. It matters not how far. It matters not how fast. I have no destination. I go where the winds of chance carry me. I have known the heady exaltation of victory. I have known the gnawing pain of defeat. But I shall ever cease searching for an oasis of sanity in this desert of madness that men call earth. For the worst fate of all, amidst countless worlds and endless stars, is to be forever alone. The end. Whew. I love that story. Let's see. Oh, hey, Paulo showed up. What's up, Paulo? Gotta scroll up a little bit. You guys were talkative during that second book. Ryan says, this book feels timeless. There's no reference to current events. That's what comic books today lack. They refer too closely to what's going on in the real world, and that's what dates them. Yep, that's a good point, Maranya. You know what I love about this book is such a political, like there's so much political commentary in this book, but it's handled by a master like Stan Lee. And so it doesn't ever like preach to you. It's not proselytizing like a lot of the stuff you see today. It's a morality play. And we see a character who is truly virtuous in the Silver Surfer, right? And he can't accept the power that they want to give him because that wouldn't be virtuous. So he has to flee it. And I don't know, it speaks so much to how much we as mankind are corrupted by the sake of power, but power never actually amounts to anything. We think it's going to give us something, but it never truly does. There's always more power to be had. And I don't know. I'm not going to preach to you, but this book has so much to say, and I just love it because, like I said, you don't feel like it's talking down to you. It's just telling you a story about a hero who doesn't believe in people and then finds a good person who makes him realize that people are worth believing in again and fighting. And, you know, Galactus, he can't sit by and just like Galactus. Like there's too much virtue in him. And just, there's so much in the story. Let's see. Jamie says 100 pages of Game of Thrones. Bran just got pushed off a ledge. Oh, you're just starting. Jeez. Paulo says good morning. I already said good morning back. This is the longest 2-issue story I've ever seen. It's not that long. It'd be faster if you were reading it yourself, but you know, I have to read it in real time and I pause, and so it always takes longer when I read it out loud. Let's see. Notice the similarities between the Silver Surfer and Monty Python's Brian, but Stan Lee relies solely on the drama against Python's humor. I guess that's one way of looking at it. I was looking at the similarities of kind of a Christ analogy, but it's a little on the nose. Moebius spends time crafting different faces for that scene, using only color to put focus on the speaker. Yep, that's a good point. This was a newsprint book, so the coloring you're seeing in this, though more muted than you'd be used to from newsprint books, is because this is Moebius, and this is all done in European style books, so it doesn't have the bright colors of your typical Marvel stuff, but it is still the 4-color newsprint coloring. So that's kind of why you're getting that, and because of the lack of having so many colors on a given page at a time, this was a technique anyways, you get it. Ed says, big fan of the Surfer. Yeah, because you have good taste, Ed. I can tell by your avatar. High five, Ed. Likes Silver Surfer, he likes Pink Floyd. You can always tell a good person is when they like Pink Floyd and Silver Surfer. Ronnie says, wow, intense writing. Rest in peace, Stan Lee, says Melissa. Amen to that. Jimmy says, this book was actually good. Rest in Valhalla, Stan. Feast with the Legends. It's weird how you say it's actually good, like you expected it would be bad. Hey, Mikey, he likes it. Like I said, this is the best thing I've ever read by Stan Lee. So I don't say that to put anything else that he's done down. I say that in like hopes that I'm wrong, and someone goes, oh yeah, Ash, if you think this was good, like you should read this other thing he did. It was even better. I would love to read something better than this, because this is fantastic. I don't normally think of Stan Lee as like a great writer, but he was a great imaginator, if that makes sense. Ronnie says, actually, as I recall, Stan Lee did try to paint the Surfer as a messianic saint figure, someone too good and pure for this world. Yeah, he kind of was, the way he is in the past. this particular story kind of turned the volume up on that concept that Stan Lee had already established, and the character kind of cranked up the volume. But I think it worked that to emphasize that. He says, I thought it was going to be overworded and very little plot. Oh, Jimmy, that's because you're ruined by all the modern books. They poisoned your brain to expect so little. I say that in good faith. I don't mean to. I'm not trying to pick a fight with you or anything. Yeah. So let's see. Ed says storyteller is more important than writer. It's tough because storyteller can mean writer and writer can mean storyteller. I feel like we have really inadequate words to describe writing. There's so many aspects of writing. There's the crafting of a narrative, which is a skill that you can be very good at. There's writing of prose or dialogue. There's structuring. I guess that goes with the narrative, like structuring the narrative. Then there's just imagining the story, right? This is one thing I credit Lord of the Rings. Tolkien deserves all the credit in the world for thinking and imagining something that didn't exist before. So many writers have come along since and copied Tolkien, and we forget like how original his work was. Then there's also the underlying message. When I say message, I don't necessarily mean like it's preaching to you, but the themes or commentary that the story speaks on. Here it speaks on, there's a lot of themes in this book. There's themes on groupthink, right? We can compare this today, right, with just in our current world politics. Think about like the whole left versus right. I'm not saying that Silver Surfer is Donald Trump and Biden is Galactus, but what I am saying is that the way the people follow Galactus in this book and the way they vilify Surfer has a lot of similarities. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to draw specific examples to those two. This has been the case previously in history with other individuals. What I'm trying to speak to is just how the sheep mentality of people just follow the crowd, the mob mentality, if you will, right? This is what everyone's saying, like, that guy's the bad guy. And whichever side has the most people saying it, whichever side controls the narrative, that's what the people follow. And even though we can read this book and go, man, Galactus is clearly the bad guy, everyone was under that spell because the news, we got the preacher who's like, oh no, Galactus is great. Essentially that's kind of an analog to the fake news. Let's see. I was looking at my Lord of the Rings collection novel, and I don't remember reading the last two, so I'm going to have to read those. Weird, because I thought I did when I was younger. Yeah, that's weird. Lord of the Rings is one thing I think that Tolkien was great at was the world, like that imagination, and then also having something to say. His story speaks so much to the horrors of war and what it does to people, not just the soldiers in a war, but the people who just have to live through it, what it does to the lives, how you come out of the war, and companionship, being in the trenches with each other, so to speak. There's so much that Tolkien has to say about that. One thing I think that he's not strong at is the structuring of the narrative. He admitted himself that he was not a writer. When he sat down and wrote The Hobbit, it was just him putting to paper bedtime stories that he told his kids. He just make up stories to, send them to bed like Ash does. A little story time live. And then he decided to write them all down. And that's where he got The Hobbit. And then Lord of the Rings came later, which makes sense because he became a better writer with Lord of the Rings. And there is some masterful writing. I mean, the guy was a very educated and had a, mastery of English. There's some passages in Lord of the Rings. One of my favorite pieces ever in a book is the scene where Gandalf opens the gate to Minas Tirith, and the Witch King shows up, and Gandalf goes to confront him. That whole page, like that scene, is just. I'd like to get that written. I'd like to get that printed up, real nice calligraphy, and framed. It's just beautiful and poetic. I guess there's something to be said about poetry in the writing too, and I don't mean literal poetry, like stanzas and rhyming and stuff, but just the nature of what poetry is. There is a bit of poetry in some good works. I felt like this Silver Surfer book was poetic in many ways. So, yay. I hope you guys agreed. Yeah, I'm going off your comments. Ryan says, someone can put words together perfectly grammatically wise, but the end result is soulless. Others can break all the grammar rules and stir an audience's mind and heart with an impactful story. Yep, amen to that. There's so many different parts to a story, and you don't necessarily have to be a master at every single piece, just certain ones, and you do it just right, and you're gonna hit people. Mom mentality is what was discussed in this book. People as a whole tend to be sheep. Yep. But there was also more to that too, like how the Reverend, he saw an opportunity for power, right? That speaks to me, kind of modern terms, like current day. I think there's a lot of people who are in politics who think like the Reverend guy did. They're just like, oh, yeah, I'll speak to these sheep and they'll elevate me. I think that's where you get a lot of people like that, because they know that the sheep will elevate them to power, and then they use the sheep because the sheep think, oh yeah, we're gonna support this guy because he's for us. No, he's just using you to stand on your shoulders. He doesn't give a shit about you. Yeah, and the only one thing that he cared about, was his sister. And when he lost her, that's what snapped him out of it. And it's like, damn, that's it. Doesn't matter how much power you have. Doesn't matter when there's certain things that you can't accomplish. All that power can't save your sister. Love is the way. That's another theme of this book I really love, because that speaks to me personally. I'm a big believer in that. I've never hidden my own personal beliefs. I do believe in God, and I believe the purpose of the world is love. And this book, while not a religious book, it's not trying to, but it also speaks to the same thing, that love is the way. And this book illustrated it. Silver Surfer acts out of love. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me on this little fun journey of reading comics on the interwebs. I'm hoping you're enjoying it. This was a cool, one shot, 2 books and be done. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, but Tuesdays and Thursdays are my stream time. If you've made it this far, well, then you probably already know that. If you haven't made it this far, then you're not hearing me right now. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 o'clock Pacific time, I chat and read some comics. So I hope you'll join me. Always take recommendations. It has to be on Comixology. It has to be a book I have access to, either through Comixology Unlimited, which I have a subscription to, so I can read any book on Unlimited, or it has to be a book that I own, which means if I don't own it, then I'll take donations. It also has to be not too long. It can't be reading like a 24-page series or something, So Jimmy's going to bed. Good night, Jimmy. Thanks for enjoying. Hope you enjoyed the story. So that's it. I don't have really much more to say. Play Valheim. Join me on Valheim. Follow what I say. Be a sheep. I know I preach, don't be a sheep, but in this case, be sheep. Play Valheim. You want to play with Ash. Computer Robot says, where's the stream is ending title? Oh, well, ask and you shall receive. Melissa says, bye. Good night, Melissa. Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful evening. Hello to your son. Yes. Play Valheim. That's what I'm going to go do next, by the way. Let's play some Valheim. I'm so addicted. Yeah. What else? Oh, yeah. I'll talk about WandaVision more on the next time. Paula says, I'm getting ready to go to work. Bye, everyone. All right. Have a good day at work, Paula. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for coming by. I'll talk more about Wanda on the next. Because Thursday I'll have seen... I might actually be caught up by Thursday. Because I'm 4 episodes in. We're watching 2 episodes a night. So, yeah. I should be caught up by Thursday, and I can talk about it. It's a good series. If you are thinking about watching the series, if you haven't watched it yet, make sure you get to episode 4. Don't judge the show on the first 3 episodes. The first 3 episodes are bizarro. And they could potentially make or break, like, just, you need to get to episode 4, and that's where the show kind of, like, hooks you, like, tries to hook you at least. Things start to make a little bit of sense and make you go, oh, okay, I see what the show's trying to do. I think maybe it gets, make it through episode 4. If you before judging, a lot of people I know, I remember when it first came out in the first couple episodes, people were like, screw this show, it's dumb. It's not. Now I could see why just judging off for 2 episodes you might think that, for sure, but there's more. So yeah, I can't really say anything without spoiling. Don't know what else to say. So thanks for coming. Like, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Click on the notification. What else am I supposed to say? Put your comments down below. Join me on Discord. All the information's in the thing. Follow me on Twitter. And as always, read good comics. Good night, everyone.